My name is Sharon Young. I am NOAA's administrator, and my name is Sharon, last name Younge.
Okay. Can everybody hear me as we go back and forth? Okay. Sometimes the frequencies of the mic change. I understand, Administrator Young, that you have a statement that you would like to share. Can you please share that now?
Absolutely. I'm pleased to announce today new regulations of the National you spelled that wrong. Ocean and Atmospheric Administration. Today, at the Great Boston University, I'm announcing that NOAA will ban the use of vertical buoy lines by lobstermen throughout the Gulf of Maine. All lobstermen who fish in these waters will have to switch to ropeless fishing gear within the next 3 years. To help them make the transition, we'll set aside $100 million to help lobstermen buy the new fishing gear. This is the most significant step the federal government has taken to protect this critically endangered species. For too long, we have watched as these great whales have been decimated by fishing rope. It's high time that we took this action, which we expect will lead to a resurgence of these beautiful mammals. The rules will make a significant difference in ensuring that these majestic whales, as well as our economically vital lobster industry, not only will survive, but thrive for generations to come.
Oh, okay, so there were some audio problems there, and just to be clear, that sounded quite important. Can you do me a favor and please, for some reason, this mic is now no longer working. Can you please share that statement once again and as loud as possible? Did you turn that mic on?
Here, let me try.
Okay, yeah, let's try that other mic. Let's see if that's any better. Okay.
This better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure you hold it like this.
I'm pleased to announce new regulations of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Today, at the Great Boston University, I'm announcing that NOAA will ban the use of vertically buoy lines by lobstermen throughout the Gulf of Maine. All lobstermen who fish in these waters will have to switch to ropeless fishing gear within the next 3 years. To help them make the transition, we'll set aside $100 million to help lobstermen buy this new fishing gear. This is the most significant step the federal government has taken to protect this critically endangered species. For too long, we have watched like these great whales have been decimated by fishing rope. It's high time that we took this action, which we expect will lead to a resurgence of these beautiful mammals. The rules will make a significant difference in ensuring that these majestic whales, as well as our economically vital lobster fishery, not only will survive, but thrive for generations to come.
Let's share them out. Administrator Young, why were these rules considered necessary?
We have watched as the population of North Atlantic right whale has fallen significantly in recent years, with their numbers now nearly 25% lower than they were in 2010. We need to reverse this trend, as entanglements in fishing gear are the leading cause of the decline. We hope these rules will dramatically reduce whale deaths and serious injury.
Administrator Young, is there any precedent for this action?
Over the years, NOAA and state regulators in New England have taken steps to protect right whales, including by requiring lobstermen to use special rope that's easier for the whales to break free from. But this is the most far-reaching action to date.
When will these new measures take effect?
All lobstermen who fish in the Gulf of Maine will be required to use ropeless fishing gear by January of 2028. There will be no exceptions.
Why did it take so long for NOAA to take this action?
We wanted to ensure the technology was ready and effective. We now believe this approach will allow us to protect the whales while maintaining a healthy lobster fishery. We had to be sure we could balance conservation interests with our commercial interests.
And how do you say, or how do you respond to those who say that this action is too little and too late?
The rules are based on the best available science. We believe the time frame we are operating in is prudent and fair to the lobster industry, giving them enough time to prepare for the changes. We plan to begin distributing ropeless fishing gear to lobstermen in the coming months.
And Administrator Young, can you just explain or respond to those who claim that this action is unfair and will put lobstermen out of business?
As President Biden might say, that's malarkey. We wouldn't take this action if we thought it would harm the region's economy. We're providing ample funding, training, and time to help the industry transition smoothly.
And can you respond to those who say that ropeless gear is not ready for widespread adoption, that there are too many technical or regulatory hurdles to make it an effective way for lobstermen to fish?
We have had pilot programs over the past few years that have shown that this technology is ready to go. It's not perfect, but no technology is perfect. But it's reliable and efficient, and it will improve as more lobstermen use it. The costs will also come down over time.
I'm going to try to use this mic.
And as I mentioned in some of my lectures, is there anything, this is the way I like to end most of my interviews, to give them, to give subjects an opportunity to answer anything that I didn't think to ask, to give them an opportunity to say whatever they have on their mind. So is there anything, Mr. Young, I haven't asked that we should know about these new measures?
We look forward to collaborating with officials, scientists, environmental advocates, and the lobster industry to protect right whales and to protect the future of the lobster industry.
Okay, let's all advance the next slide. Please continue.
Okay, we are switching hats, and now I'm going to interview another subject. And this other subject, could you please tell me your name, how to spell it, and your title?
My name is Patricia Lanahan. I am a spokeswoman from the Massachusetts Lobstermen Association, and my name is spelled Patricia. My last name is Lannahan. Trying to understand.
This one seems a little. And I understand that you oppose these new regulations. I'd appreciate if you can explain why.
Absolutely. We strongly oppose these proposed rules. It's an example of government killing a way of life. This technology is unproven, expensive, and unworthwhile for our fishermen. If these rules take effect, they will destroy the region's vital lobster fishery. We believe the agency has exceeded its authority. As a result, we intend to file a lawsuit in federal court in the coming weeks to block these rules from taking effect. We will also ask Congress to pass legislation to block the rules and prevent anything like this from ever being proposed again. We won't stop fighting this until every lobsterman continue to do what they have done for generations. Harvest the tastiest crustacean on the planet.
Yay! I do know it's going to be a mouthful for Kyla to get offer Jess, but thank you for doing that. That sounded quite important, Patricia Lanahan. Would you mind repeating that just because I want to make sure I got it right in my notes?
Sure. We strongly oppose these proposed rules. It is an example of a government killing a way of life. This technology is unproven, expensive, and unworkable for our fishermen. If these rules take effect, they will destroy the region's vital lobster fishery. We believe the agency has exceeded its authority, and as a result, we intend to file a lawsuit in federal court in the coming weeks to block the rules from taking effect. We will also ask Congress to pass legislation to block the rules and prevent anything like this from ever being proposed again. We will not stop fighting until every lobsterman can continue doing what they've done for generations. Harvest the tastiest from station on the planet.
That's, why do you think these rules would harm the lobster industry?
The technology is still relatively new, and it hasn't been tested on a commercial scale. There are concerns about its reliability, especially in harsh weather conditions, and there are issues with retrieving gear that have resulted in lost stocks and increased costs. Moreover, most lobstermen aren't prepared to make this transition within 3 years. The cost, lack of training, and unproven reliability of this technology present significant obstacles, and some may find it impossible to comply in China.
Patricia Lanahan, do you think $100 million will be sufficient to enable lobstermen to make the transition to using ropeless gear? And do you foresee any other additional financial challenges to the industry?
While the funding is a good start, it will not cover all expenses. Ongoing maintenance and operational costs will place additional burdens on lobstermen. Many will face financial challenges that could threaten their livelihoods.
If entanglements are such a significant source of harm to right whales, why not eliminate vertical buoy lines altogether?
The long-term survival of the lobster industry depends on practical and economically viable solutions. Ropeless gear may sound good in theory, but it's not a realistic option for most lobstermen of this kind, and it won't automatically solve the problem of whale entanglements.
And how do you respond to those that argue that the lobster industry is being callous and putting profits over protecting the whales?
I want to dignify that the callous question of a listen.
What do you think the solution should be if it's not banning vertical buoy lines?
We support more research on whale migration patterns and seasonal fishing restrictions in high-risk areas. We also back efforts to develop less disruptive gear, such as weaker rope that can break in whales and funnel tangles.
What do you expect that the Massachusetts Lobstermen's Association will argue in federal court with their lawsuit?
We'll argue that the regulations are arbitrary and capricious under the Administrative Procedures Act, and that they lack sufficient scientific and economic justification. We'll also challenge whether NOAA properly considered the economic impact on fishermen.
And what action are you seeking from Congress?
We are reaching out to lawmakers in coastal states to advocate for the fishing community. We believe we can build a bipartisan coalition that understands the cultural and economic significance of the lobster industry, and that they'll support legislation to stop these regulations.
Do you see any common ground where conservation and the industry can both succeed under these new proposed rules?
We fully support efforts to protect marine life, but the approach needs to be practical and economically viable. There is common ground to developing gradual and flexible measures that incorporate new technologies alongside traditional practices, allowing the industry to adapt without devastating economic consequences.
Is there anything else that I didn't ask that you think I should know?
Yes, lobstermen don't want to hurt anyone. They just want to provide their enemies. That's what this is about.
Great. Next slide, please. Now we are moving on to the third and final interview. Thank you, Dr. Kyla Bennett, for coming here. Just be sure when you are using the mic to speak to have it pointed right at your mouth. Please tell me your name and your title and how you spell your name.
Sure. My name is Kyla Bennett, Kyla, last name Bedmnett. I'm the Director of Science Policy at PURE, Public Employees for Environmental Responsibility.
And I understand that you have some concerns as well about these newly proposed rules. Can you elaborate?
Yes. We are grateful that NOAA has finally taken this long overdue action. Unfortunately, these new rules should have been enacted years ago, and they should be doing even more now. To wait 3 years before these rules take effect is absurd. Too many wells are dying and being seriously injured. The agency must act now. These rules must be implemented as soon as humanly possible.
That sounded important. Would you mind please repeating that statement?
We are grateful that NOAA has finally taken this long overdue action. Unfortunately, these new rules should have been enacted years ago, and they should be doing even more now. To wait 2 years before these rules take effect is absurd. Too many wells are dying and being seriously injured, and the agency must act now. These rules must be implemented as soon as humanly possible.
And why is 3 years too long? And what would be, in your view, a more appropriate timeline?
2 years is far too long due to the urgent threats facing right whales. Ideally, these rules should be implemented within a year to prevent further deaths. The current rate of entanglement is unsustainable, and the longer we delay, the more whales will be lost.
What, if any, additional measures would you like to see from NOAA?
We need stricter enforcement of existing protections and more areas designated as whale sanctuaries or signal enclosures where all fishing activities may be restricted when whales are present. NOAA should also require seamen on vessels operated throughout the Gulf of Maine and in other waters where we know right whales are at risk of strikes.
Is there other fishing here that poses similar risks to whales, and that you think that NOAA should target with new regulations?
Absolutely. Gillnets and cloudweir also endanger marine mammals. NOAA should assess all pirates here and consider similar regulatory changes to protect them.
How has NOAA's track record been when it comes to protecting marine life?
NOAA has made some progress in their regulating fishing practices, but it has often been too slow to act when urgent measures were needed. The agency needs to adopt a more proactive approach to conservation rather than waiting until a species is on the brink of extinction.
The threats to North Atlantic right whales from entanglement go beyond quick deaths. Can you explain what other concerns you might have about entanglement?
Fishing gear can quickly kill whales and other marine mammals, but it can also slowly kill them, and the suffering can be agonizing. We've seen too many examples over the years of whales with rope wrapped around their mouths, and that makes it impossible for them to feed. Whales also end up dragging a lot of gear, including lobster mouths, and that saps their energy. For females, that reduces their ability to reproduce, and that's a problem, especially with just 70 reproductive females left.
You also respond to those who say these rules may ultimately prove to be a great financial burden on lobstermen and ultimately could put them out of business.
While I understand these concerns, we cannot prioritize economic interest over the survival of the species. With federal funding in place to enable transition, we can support the fishing community while making whale conservation a priority.
Do you think that $100 million in funding from NOAA for this transition to a ropeless fishery is sufficient?
It was discouraged, but more support may be needed to ensure a smooth transition. We also need investments to improve the technology and make it more affordable.
What else do you think that we should know about these proposed rules and their potential impacts that I have not already asked about?
For those who argue that oilless fishing gear is too expensive and untested, I thought the same can be said about many innovations over the years. The gear, which is already quite effective, will only get better as more lobstermen use it. And with wider adoption, the prices will come down. It's important that NOAA works closely with lobstermen to refine this technology and ensure it meets their needs. The real cost of inaction is losing a species forever.
Can you say that last sentence one more time?
The real cost of inaction is losing a species forever.
Thank you so much, Kyla Bennett. Now, advance to the next slide. It is time for a press conference. It is time for you guys to ask any questions of either Administrator Sharon Young, spokeswoman of the Massachusetts Lobstermen Association, Patricia Lanahan, or Dr. Kyla Bennett. Please, when you ask a question, there will be a mic coming around. I'll actually get this other mic as well. Maybe another team could help. I'd rather have a volunteer. Then I'm seeing you might be able to walk around with this other mic. Thank you. Please direct your question to one of the three sources. Thank you.
I was listening for Sharon Young. Where is the $100 million Senate was that so that happened?
Yes, the $100 million will come from taxpayers, will come from the federal government.
And just so everybody knows, when she's
Speaking from a certain point of view, Professor Hall is going to put the name of this person that she's having. So if you have any questions or doubts about who is she, what point of view she's speaking from, look at this slide. Thank you.
go ahead over here first.
And
Go ahead.
this is a question for
Speak loudly.
this is about future social media. You have more specifically about the lawsuit like in the middle.
Sure. So we believe that the lobster industry and the economics of that industry are important to the entire United States economy. Our lobstermen and women have been fishing this way for generations. They know nothing else. This is how it's always been done. To force them to change and put this new untested technology and mandate it so that they can no longer use their old way of life is what we call arbitrary and capricious under an act called the Administrative Procedures Act. That ensures that anything that the federal government does cannot be arbitrary. In other words, they have to have good reasons. In this particular case, we do not think that NOAA has looked at the economic impact and the personal impact that this will have on thousands of lobster fisher families throughout the East Coast.
Hi, it's my question is also for the tuition.
A little louder.
My question is also for tuition, and I would like to ask, and she could talk more about the route that the tuition association doesn't things about with
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Or common ground? Honestly, most lobster fishermen and women don't want to fill the wells. They do not want to fill the wells. And that's very similar with what NOAA thinks and how the environmental community thinks. Nobody wants to see these animals go extinct. That being said, we believe that the lobster fishery and the economic benefits of lobstering is more important than this one species.
This my question is also for Trisha.
I don't think we're hearing it through the mic. Just test the mic.
Alright, by usually supposed to for usually the hand in the thought. Where are we funds for the reading just getting started up?
The lobster, this isn't working out either. The lobster associations, whether it's the Massachusetts Lobster Association, the Maine Lobster Association, we have, there we go. Out again. We have, people pay fees. So you get money through the fees paid into it by the lobster fishermen throughout the country.
My question is for Minister Young. You talked about how the measures will lead to affecting next 2 years generate quite crazy civically. What are the consequences for some of the fishermen who refuse to comply with any of the orders that you have put into the machine?
It's a great question. This will be a mandatory regulation. So anybody who doesn't comply will be penalized. They will get their license and fish taken away, and they will no longer be able to fish the lobster. If they proceed, there will be fines and perhaps a jail time.
Although I have a question. Speak loud. So in terms of changing things within the lobster, you say that sharp oil would run, but would you not argue that innovation and is what it needs to perhaps more calls for stated being, even within the collective in the future, and then also impede belief system of stagnation? Is that not also in general areas in the lobster industry that other areas where they have needs?
Just repeat the question.
Yeah. Can you repeat that one more time?
My question is, if you're kind of taking on this belief system of stagnation, that things shouldn't be changed, then does that not stifle other innovation within the lobster industry as well as other areas?
The reason that we have fished for lobster the way so long, for so many generations, is because it works. It's safe, it's effective, and it allows the lobster fishery itself to continue. We don't want to fish so much lobster that we make the lobster fishery go extinct. We have struck a balance. So not only has it been a way of life and cultural, it's a cultural thing for these fishermen and women. They've been doing it for generations. I would argue that it is not stagnation, but it's a cultural thing that they need to do because this is the way they've done it and it works. And it's the only thing that we know, where we can make enough money to survive for our families, provide enough lobster for the United States and other countries, and also maintain the populations of the lobster community itself.
This is a bad thing for British Luana, and I was wondering if since like whales are extinct species, if that would affect their extinction would affect the lobster fishing industry or fishing industry as a whole.
So, if you have an endangered marine mammal, it's protected under both the Marine Mammal Protection Act and also the Endangered Species Act. That being said, NOAA has a mandate as a federal agency to protect the commercial fisheries and the people who engaged in those commercial fisheries. And there are exceptions in both of those laws that allow, I think, economics to take precedence over the survival of species.
And in terms of the jobs who actually with this. If you believe that the laws that protect, it's the laws and regulations that are being set out to protect the right whales are arbitrary. Do you also believe that these of that species are arbitrary?
It's not that the laws are arbitrary, but there are exceptions contained within those laws. And, humans are the most important species on Earth. Humans are the most important species on Earth. In the Bible, Peter told that humans, this is really tough for me, that humans are stewards and have dominion over all of God's creatures, and this is nothing. Are you going to tell me that to save a whale species that very few people ever come across in their lives is more important than thousands of fishing families throughout the Northeast? I think the answer is no.
Oh, sorry. just speak up wherever there was a question over here. Okay, right there. Just as loud as you can.
Okay. This is a question for Administrator Young. So, how would you respond to the criticisms of NOAA in that because it manages mandates of both the fisheries and the environment protection, it is hence incapable of fully committing to environment protection, and this has resulted in its slow adoption of acts that may be considered?
I take exception with that. I concede that we do have a dual mandate, but we are very even-handed, and I believe that we can do both things, that they are not mutually exclusive, that we can protect the lobster industry, and we can also protect the right of way. We are not the only agency with a dual mandate. USDA, for example, has a dual mandate of protecting farmers and also farmland. So we're not the only ones. I think we can do both, and I take exception to that criticism.
Speak loudly, because I don't know if the mic's work.
Do you have any concerns about any lawsuits posed? Oh, this is for Sheridan. Do you have any concerns about any lawsuits posed by the Lobstermen Association?
I do not. We feel very comfortable that we have complied with the Administrative Procedures Act, the Marine Mammal Protection Act, the Endangered Species Act. We have many lawyers at NOAA, and we feel like we are on firm legal ground here, and we will win.
Go ahead.
All right, so currently, ropeless fishing. So currently, ropeless fishing gear costs as much as $2,500 a trap, which means that the $100 million that NOAA is setting aside will only finance about 40,000 traps, which is a far cry from the 3 million traps that are along the coast made as we currently speak, that utilize traditional rope and buoy traps, which only cost about $150 in comparison. How do you guys intend on making up this difference in potential efficacy at the harvesting of lobster?
As more lobstermen and women use this ropeless gear, the cost will come down. So we believe that 100 million will actually be able to be given to more than what you suggest. And moreover, if we have to go back to the counters to get more money, we will.
This is for Dr. Bennett. Dr. Bennett, you just heard from Steve Nate, one Fethin, from Patricia Lanidan, saying that the humans are the most important species on Earth, according to, she said in the Bible. I would like your response to this, please.
God bless you for that question.
I am an atheist. I am also a vegan. So
Those are mutually exclusive.
I take exception with what Ms. Lanahan said. You know, one of the things, as an ecologist, as a PhD ecologist, I can tell you that one of the biggest problems that we face right now as a species for humans is that humans don't realize that we are animals. We are animals like every other species, and therefore we are subject to those same biological pressures that every other animal is. Overpopulation, scarcity of prey, pollution, and so the other thing is that we are all connected. Because we're all animals and we share this planet, we are so connected, we don't know. If you only show that humans, so think of it this way. We don't know what will happen if trigon goes extinct. We don't know what that will do to the marine ecosystem. We don't know what that will do ultimately to the human population. I don't think it's worth the risk. But for me, from a moral and ethical perspective, I think it's insane that we as humans can just play God and say, yeah, it's okay for that species to go extinct. I think it's wrong.
We'll make this the last question. Who's got the burning question? Or what is this guy? Just speak up. Guys, can you wait, please? Go ahead.
So this is a question for Kyle and Bennett, and my question is, if lobster non-line fishing isn't as effective as buoy fishing at the moment, how can you really justify shaking fishermen's source of income besides environmental impact? That'd be like asking EU students to never take the tea in order to stop climate change. People would be mad.
So we are facing unprecedented times right now, and we're going to have to make a lot of compromises and uncomfortable choices. And people are going to have to pivot. So when you're looking at things like the coal miners or oil and gas workers, you're trying to electrify everything. You need to retrain those people to be able to work in renewable energy sources or something else. We have to pivot. And if we have to pivot away from lobster fishing, then we should to save this whale. And also, I'd like to point out that because of climate change, in a few short years, lobsters will not be in the United States anymore. They're going to be moving north because of the warming waters. So that industry is dying anyway. So why should we allow the right whale to go extinct for an industry that's going to be coming to an end shortly? I don't think we should.
Big round of applause for Dr. Clark.
Thank you, Donald.